I don't remember the exact moment my childhood ended, but I do remember the exact words that broke me. "She looks diseased," my grandmother muttered when I walked into the room in a sundress. I was 9. My mother didn't defend me. She didn't correct her. She didn't even flinch. She just nodded, sipping her tea like it was any other afternoon. That was the moment I realized I would never be one of them. Not truly. Not in the way that mattered. You see, I was born with vitiligo, a skin condition that left patches of my skin pale and unpigmented. At first, it was just a small mark on my arm. Then my knees, my neck, my face. But to my family, it was a shame, a stain, something to hide. My mother, Celeste, was obsessed with appearances. Not inner beauty presentation. Elegance, thinness, perfectly blended foundation, coordinated outfits for holiday photos. And then there was me, the blemish in every picture. She used to Photoshop my skin in family portraits. I found out when I was 13. I remember holding up one of the holiday cards, stunned. "You erased my skin. You made me look like someone else." And she said, I swear to God she said, "I made you look normal." That was her idea of love. My father, Charles, wasn't much better. He was quieter, colder. He never insulted me outright, but his silence did more damage than any cruel word. He never once told me I was beautiful. Not once. But he had no problem showering praise on my younger sister, Bella, golden-haired, clear-skinned, born with the perfect symmetry that made strangers coo in grocery stores. Bella was their pride. I was their project. Or maybe, their failure. I spent most of my childhood covering up. Long sleeves in summer. Hats indoors. Makeup I didn't need. Makeup I hated. The worst part? They acted like they were helping me. "This is for your own good," Celeste would say, dotting foundation over my cheeks until I looked like someone else in the mirror. "No one will ever marry you looking like that." And then she'd look at Bella. Now that's a face made for love. I stopped looking in mirrors by the time I was 15. At school, I was quiet, distant, too scared to let anyone close enough to see what my family saw. At home, I became invisible unless there was something to criticize. A missed spot, a visible patch, a classmate who got too friendly. "Don't let boys pity you," my mother once snapped. "You'll embarrass yourself." I didn't date. I didn't party. I barely breathed. But then, everything changed. It happened slowly, like dawn creeping over the edge of a long, dark night. I met someone. His name was Alex. And for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and didn't flinch. He saw the patches, the skin, the flaws, and he smiled. He said, "Your skin looks like constellations. Like you were kissed by stars." I almost cried. Right there, in that stupid coffee shop. Because no one, not a single soul, had ever said something like that to me. And I started to believe him. I started to believe I wasn't broken. That maybe, just maybe, I was more than what they said I was. Loving Alex felt like learning to breathe again after years underwater. He didn't just tolerate my skin, he adored it. He traced the lighter patches on my arms like they were maps, like they told a story only he could read. "I think you were made this way on purpose," he'd whisper. No one had ever told me I was meant to be the way I am. Not even close. We met in college. He was studying architecture. I was chasing psychology, trying to understand how people could be so cruel and still sleep at night. I never told my parents about him, not at first, because I knew exactly what they'd say. And I was right. The first time I brought Alex to meet them, my mother barely said hello before asking him, "So what made you choose her?" Just like that. As if I were a job no one wanted. Alex didn't flinch. He took my hand and smiled. "She's the strongest woman I know. And the most beautiful." My father looked like he wanted to throw up. My grandmother, who had made a sport out of insulting me since I was in diapers, muttered something about playing house with a charity case. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just sat there, burning in my silence, watching Alex hold his ground. He didn't argue. He didn't insult them. He simply said, "We won't be staying long." And he led me out. That moment, walking away from that table, from the people who raised me, felt like tearing open my own ribcage. But it was also the first time I realized, blood doesn't equal love. I didn't go back for a long time. And they didn't call. Not on my birthday. Not when I graduated with honors. Not even when Alex proposed on a hilltop at sunset, holding a ring he designed himself. "You're the home I never had," he said, slipping it onto my finger. I cried so hard I forgot to say yes at first. When I finally told my family we were getting married, the reactions were colder than winter air. "You're making a mistake," my mother hissed over the phone. Does he know what he's signing up for? My father asked. You're not exactly a catch. Even Bella, golden girl Bella, chimed in with, you're rushing it. Maybe you just don't want to die alone. And then she laughed like it was a joke. It wasn't. They didn't want to come to the wedding. Fine. I told myself I didn't care. But then something strange happened. They changed their minds. Out of nowhere, I got a call from my mother, voice trembling, fragile. Sweetheart, she said, your grandmother is dying. I froze. What? She's been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It's terminal. She wants to see you. She wants to come to the wedding. She says she was wrong about you. My brain couldn't process the words. After all these years? They wanted to come back now? I was shaken. Alex warned me to be careful. Don't let grief blind you, he said gently. They've hurt you too many times. But I wanted to believe. I needed to believe. Maybe people really could change. Maybe even monsters get tired. So I said yes. They could come. They could be there for the biggest day of my life. Maybe, just maybe, we were going to find peace. I had no idea I was about to walk into a carefully crafted trap. The week of the wedding, they descended like a storm pretending to be a breeze. My mother arrived first, suitcase in hand, perfume choking the hallway before she even crossed the threshold. Darling, she said, looking me up and down, you've put on weight. But don't worry, we can fix that before Saturday. Before I could reply, she turned to Alex and said, still here. I see. He didn't respond. He just put his arm around me. Then came Bella, all smiles and empty apologies. I'm so happy for you, she said, handing me a gift bag with tissue paper so loud it felt like a warning. You know, I always thought I'd get married first, but hey, surprises happen, right? The last to arrive was my grandmother, frail, wrapped in a wool shawl, leaning on a cane. Her skin looked pale, her cheeks sunken. She hugged me for the first time in my adult life. I'm sorry, she whispered. I want to be better. And I believed her. We had dinner together that night. I made pasta. My mother insisted on remaking the sauce because mine was too salty. My father didn't say much. Bella scrolled on her phone the entire time. But they were there. In my home. Sitting at my table. Eating my food. I tried to see it as healing. I tried so hard. 2 nights before the wedding, I invited them to the dress rehearsal. They came late. My grandmother cried when I walked out in my gown. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue she hadn't used since the 90s. You look fine, she said. Better than I expected. I let it slide. I was too focused on staying calm, keeping the peace, praying for the miracle of a quiet, beautiful ceremony. But Alex could feel it. I saw it in his eyes. He didn't trust them. That night, after everyone left, he sat beside me on the edge of the bed. You don't have to go through with this, he said. I turned to him, startled. What? I mean with them, he clarified. If something feels off, we can uninvite them. Even now. This is your day. They've had enough of your life. I wanted to say yes. I almost did. But I was too tired. Too desperate to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could end differently. Maybe they'd changed. They hadn't. The next morning, everything unraveled. I walked into the guest room to check on my grandmother, only to find her sitting upright in bed, talking loudly on the phone. Laughing. Cancer, she said, snorting. Oh, please. That girl will believe anything if you say it with tears. I froze. Her voice dropped to a whisper. This wedding's going to be the performance of a lifetime. I stepped back, heart pounding, while rising in my throat. They'd lied. She wasn't dying. She wasn't sick at all. It was all a manipulation. A lie to get in. A trick to play me like a puppet on my own wedding stage. And I had let them in. I had let them in. I don't remember walking down the stairs. I don't remember grabbing my keys or slamming the door. I just remember the heat in my chest, the kind that turns shame into rage. I drove for over an hour. Just me, the road, and the echo of her laughter in my head. They lied. They all lied. The terminal cancer story wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a performance. A well-rehearsed, precision-cut manipulation designed to make me vulnerable. They needed something from me, my forgiveness, my stage, my spotlight, and they knew just how to get it. By pretending to care. When I returned that night, Alex was waiting at the door. He didn't ask where I'd gone. He just opened his arms. I collapsed into him. I was right, wasn't I? He said quietly. I nodded against his chest, my throat tight. She's not sick. She never was. I know. I let them in, I whispered. I let them into this. He cupped my face in his hands. It's not too late. And he was right. The next morning, I gathered the courage to do what I should have done years ago. I told them to leave. Every single one of them. No more pretending. No more politeness. No more begging for love in a house I built without them. I heard everything. I told my grandmother. I know you lied. She didn't deny it. In fact, she rolled her eyes. Well, it got us in the door, didn't it? My mother tried to jump in, voice sharp. You ungrateful child. No, I snapped. Don't you dare. Not today. She froze, stunned at the sound of me finally talking back. You don't get to come into my life, fake an illness, and then expect me to just sit quietly at my own wedding like it's a family reunion. You are not my guests. You are not my people. You are not welcome. My father, who'd been silent this whole time, just shook his head. Typical, he muttered. Overreacting. Emotional. You never did know your place. I turned to Bella, the last of them. The one I'd hoped might still hold a shred of decency. She was scrolling on her phone again. I hope you get over it before the ceremony, she said without looking up. We're still on the program, right? The silence in the room could have split glass. No, I said. You're not. I walked to the door, opened it, and gestured. Out. All of you. My grandmother stood, slowly. You'll regret this. I smiled. No, I won't. And I didn't. They left in a flurry of insults and slammed doors. But I stood tall in the ruins of their performance. Because for the first time in my life, I chose me. Not their approval. Not their love. Me. The morning of the wedding, the sky was clear, not a single cloud in sight. It felt symbolic, almost too perfect. Alex looked at me in the mirror while I adjusted my veil. You look like you survived a storm, he said. I smiled. Because I did. There were no whispers that morning. No backhanded compliments. No judgmental glances over breakfast. Just peace. And for the first time in forever, I felt safe. We held the ceremony outdoors, surrounded by people who actually loved us. Friends. Chosen family. Mentors. My college roommate flew in from Tokyo. Alex's aunt made cookies shaped like butterflies, a quiet nod to the skin I used to be ashamed of. I walked down the aisle alone. No father at my side. No mother weeping for the camera. No grandmother faking cancer in the third row. Just me. Strong. Steady. Whole. As I walked, I caught glimpses of faces, some smiling through tears, others clutching each other in quiet pride. But I kept my eyes on Alex. He looked like he was trying not to cry. When I reached him, he whispered, I've never seen anything more beautiful. The officiant began the ceremony. But then something happened that nearly stopped my heart. Movement. From the back. I saw them, my mother, grandmother, Bella, and even my father, standing just beyond the garden gate. Dressed up. Smiling. Watching. I froze. Alex turned slightly, noticing the shift in my posture. What is it? They came back, I whispered. He looked toward the edge of the venue. And then he stepped forward, shielding me slightly with his body. They don't get to be part of this, he said firmly. Not even as shadows. The wedding planner moved quickly. Our best man, too. Within seconds, security was called. A few guests murmured, unsure of what was happening. My mother tried to push forward. We have a right to be here. She's our daughter. I turned. And I spoke. Loudly. Clearly. From the center of the aisle. No. I'm not yours. Not anymore. The hush was instant. My voice didn't shake. You gave up that right when you turned my skin into a curse. When you photoshopped me out of my own memories. When you weaponized cancer to sneak into my joy. I gestured to the rows of guests. These people love me. You don't. You never did. Security escorted them out. The applause that followed wasn't for spectacle, it was for freedom. For truth. And when I turned back to Alex, I was still trembling. But lighter. So much lighter. I believe, said the officiant after a long pause, we can continue. We did. And when we kissed as husband and wife, it wasn't just a beginning. It was a rebirth. In the weeks after the wedding, something strange happened. My phone didn't stop ringing. Blocked numbers. Unknown numbers. Voicemails filled with heavy sighs and false concern. You were cruel, one of them said. My grandmother, probably. You humiliated us in front of strangers. Another, from Bella. You really think your little speech makes you better than us? You're still just a girl with patches. But I didn't respond. I didn't cry. I didn't even listen to all of them. I simply hit delete. One by one. Until my phone was clean. I wanted to move on. To start this next chapter with Alex free of the past. But closure doesn't always mean silence. Sometimes, it means confrontation. and I needed answers. So I went back. Not to my childhood home. That place had become a mausoleum of shame. I met my mother at a quiet cafe instead. Neutral ground. Daylight. No excuses. She showed up dressed in pearls and poison, sipping iced tea like this was some kind of afternoon gossip hour. "You look stable," she said, as if it were a compliment. I didn't engage. "I came for the truth," I said. "Did Grandma ever have cancer?" She blinked, caught, but only for a second. "No," she said flatly. "But it got you to listen, didn't it?" That sentence hung in the air like a loaded weapon. "You lied," I whispered. "We survived," she corrected. "You think being your mother was easy? Having a child people stared at? Whispered about? Do you know how humiliating it was explaining your condition at every birthday party, every school interview?" I stared at her, stunned. "You think I was a burden?" "I think," she said, carefully folding her napkin, "you made everything harder. And I did what I had to do." That's when I knew. This wasn't ignorance. It wasn't fear. It wasn't generational misunderstanding. It was cruelty. Calculated. Rehearsed. Polished like the pearls on her neck. I stood up. "I'm not your burden," I said. "I'm your daughter. And if you couldn't see that, you never deserved me." She didn't stop me as I walked away. Didn't call after me. Didn't apologize. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. Healing isn't a lightning strike. It's a slow, stubborn flame, one you have to protect from wind, rain, and the ghosts of your past trying to blow it out. After that meeting with my mother, I didn't go home and collapse into tears. I didn't scream or break plates or spiral. I just stood in front of a mirror. For a long time. No makeup. No filters. No sleeves to hide under. Just me. Every patch. Every scar. Every inch of skin I was once taught to hate. And I looked at myself. Really looked. For the first time since I was a child. And what I saw. Beauty. Not in spite of the vitiligo. Because of it. I saw a woman who survived abandonment, ridicule, manipulation. Who stood up at her own wedding and said, "No more." Who chose love that felt like light, not approval that felt like chains. I saw a warrior in soft skin. Alex came in, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You okay?" he whispered. "I think," I said slowly, "I'm better than okay." And I meant it. Months passed. We traveled. We laughed. We built a life that was ours, not inherited, not borrowed, not conditional. I started speaking about my story. At schools. Conferences. Online. People wrote to me. Strangers. Survivors. Girls who still wore long sleeves in the summer because someone told them they should. I told them, "You are not an apology. You are art. You are thunder in a body they tried to silence." And as for my family, they stayed gone. Occasionally, Bella tried to reach out, once through email, once through a cousin, but I never replied. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean reopening the door. Sometimes it means locking it and throwing away the key. On our anniversary, Alex gave me a painting. It was of a woman standing on a cliff at dawn, her skin glowing with pale constellations. The sky behind her was streaked with firelight. Her arms were open. Her face was turned toward the sun. I cried when I saw it, because for the first time in my life, I recognized myself in a portrait. Unedited, unashamed, unbreakable.